Well, we're back for week 4, where we're going to be talking about informed consent in research. I hope that everybody's hard at work completing your first project and you're digging into the Paul Below article and discovering all those differences in there between the FDA regulations and the ICH guidelines. So for this week, we're going to be talking about informed consent. No other element of clinical research generates as much discussion, training, conference topics, etc. than informed consent. So we're going to get a pretty good dose of it this week. The important thing to understand is that informed consent is a process and is not merely the signature of a patient on a piece of paper. So I hope you keep that in mind as you do the readings and we go through the exercises for this week. Our learning objectives for this week are going to be to understand the importance of the informed consent process, discuss the concept of therapeutic misconception in clinical research, that is, that the patient believes that they're actually receiving therapy instead of participating in a research study. We're also going to define the elements of informed consent that are required by FDA regulations and also by ICH E6 guidelines. And then finally, we're going to review and assess an informed consent document for regulatory compliance. So I've posted one on Blackboard, so you'll have a chance to pull that up. It's about maybe 9 pages or so. It's not very long. And then you'll simply compare that to the FDA regulations and the ICH guidelines, and then respond back if all of those are present in the form. So I think it'll be a simple but a very real-world exercise for you. Your readings this week are going to include, is informed consent always necessary? In this article, the author is going to discuss when and where informed consent maybe is required and not required in clinical research. He attempts to make a pretty good argument. I'm not sure that he actually does so. In the second article, we're going to talk about false hopes and best data. We're going to be discussing therapeutic misconception, what that is, and its impact on research. And then in the final article, therapeutic misconception in the informed consent process, the authors are going to do an assessment of the false hopes article and introduce a couple new concepts with some more timely information on that. So I think that you'll enjoy reading those articles. They're not very long. I don't think it'll take you long to get through them. I do want you to review for your own reference the FDA informed consent information sheet. I've placed the link here on this slide. Also, the PDF file is on Blackboard as well. I also want you to review the ACRP white paper on the process of informed consent. That's not a very long document. It's about 7 pages, so it won't take you long to take a look at it. But I would like for you to spend some time with those 2 documents and at least be familiar with their content. I don't expect you to read every word of it, but do become familiar with that, because I think it'll be very helpful in your review exercise this week. This slide shows you the basic information that I want to go over this week, which are the FDA guidelines, or excuse me, FDA regulations involving informed consent. They are at 21 CFR Part 50, Subpart B, Section 50.25. I placed the link there. I've also copied the information from that link onto my module page on Blackboard, so you should be able to read that. But that section contains the informed consent requirements the FDA requires. There are 8 mandatory requirements, and then there are 6 optional requirements if they're appropriate. So I want you to read through those and be familiar with them. The second link is going to be ICH E6 section 4.8.10. I've once again put the link on this slide. I've also copied the 20 elements that ICH contains in their guidelines onto the module page in Blackboard, so you'll easily see them there. I want you to read through those, be familiar with them, because those are the two pieces of information that you're going to use to assess your discussion board assignment for this week. Finally, for your discussion board assignment for the week, I want you to take the FDA regulations and the ICH guidelines and use those to review and assess the sample informed consent form Wake Tech document that I've placed on Blackboard. You'll pull that up. It's about 9 pages. I'd like for you to read through it. Make sure that all of the required elements are there. If there are any that are missing, then I want you to put that in your discussion board for this week. I'm not going to tell you if there's any missing or not. You're going to have to take a look at it and then tell me in the discussion board whether or not they're all there and if they're in the appropriate spot and that type of thing, or if anything's missing or if anything's there that shouldn't be there. You're not required to reply to any of your classmates on this week's discussion board, so I don't think it'll take you very long to do it, but it should be a very good real-world assignment. This is something that everybody that gets involved in clinical research has to be familiar with and is going to work with, maybe not so much on a daily basis, but certainly on a regular basis. So I think it's a very timely and real-world exercise for you. If you have any questions, please post them to the questions for the instructor on the discussion board so that everybody can see them and then everyone can see the answers. So good luck to you. Let me know if you have any questions as you move along, and I think everyone will do well.